freshly grilled newspaper spiced with lifestyle, sport, entertainment, politics, business, and international news. The Voice is available every Friday. Subscribe now. The Voice.
Dumelang Batswana Betso, welcome to the Voice of the People with Chief and Fangs. I am your host, Fangs, and that's your co-host, Mr. Chief. Today, we have a very interesting topic that we want to talk about. You know, we learned that our audience is interested in a lot of these social issues, and there was one particular social issue, 100% yankama personally. So the issue is gore Bogadi ha lenyalo le fela Bogadi bo tshwantse gore bubusiwe le bone a ke re ha lenyalo ha le simologa Chief Bogadi ba ntshiwa ba duelwa.
Yes sir.
So ya nong ha ile gore go dumalane gore nyalo e fedile anong ra khaogana malapa a khaogana, then king Bogadi bo sa busiwe. Oh, that's my issue today, and it seems as if Chief has already decided he wants to oppose this motion. Yeah. So we'll see. We put up a poll on Twitter, and we'll see what you all think. But before we get into any real discussion, because there's some interesting ones.
Yeah.
Me Itemoge Nkewagamang said that Bogadi should be paid. People don't be carried away by people say, pay for what you believe is worth it. What matters is not the end but the beginning. If you give something when you are happy, why do you have to take it back now that you are sad? Just because things couldn't go as planned or expected doesn't give you the right to take away what you gave when you are happy.
Yeah, and you do Malanalen 100%, you know, because she's right. Kana Bukhari, it's a gift. It's a token of appreciation. So now, at the time when you're happy and these exchanges are happening, you're giving a gift out of love. So just because things go wrong, how can you take a gift back? When are things can you take a gift back? Like it just smacks of just dishonesty. Generally, when you were giving that gift, you were not being honest.
No, fair enough. But I don't know. I don't know if it really is a gift, Chief. We'll have a discussion about that. But let's hear Mr. Cedric Batsile. And I know it shouldn't. Mr. Chief. We must take our time and be sure of a person when choosing a bride. We get excited easily and sometimes get pushed easily by our women into marriage and end up choosing wrong. We must take the institution of marriage more serious.
You know, Cedric is onto something, you know. There's skyrocketing divorce rates. So,
that's true.
You know, maybe there is something in what Cedric is saying, that people must take the institution of marriage more seriously.
I think I agree with that personally. Sometimes I think people rush into marriage.
Yeah.
You know, you got to think about these things.
So there's another comment here that was quite funny. From Olorato Mushoko Ari. I'm still baffled as to why we are holding onto this primitive practice that puts our sisters up for sale. It's 2021, for heaven's sake. And the worst part is our sisters are big proponents of this archaic practice. You know what I like about this? You know, even though this is a discussion for another day, whether or not this practice is necessary in today's times. Maybe we'll have that discussion another time, But you know, I like what they're saying. The fact that it's women who are the biggest supporters of Bukhari. You'd find that it's the guys who don't want to pay, but it's the women who are actually they support them.
That's why it's not a gift, Chief.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get one more comment, right? From Galactic Kinosi. If Bukhari is to be refunded, then tradition lost its meaning, intent, or purpose because it's an appreciation, not a payment. If a slave was sold and the master finds the slave to be useless, then the master can swap or return the slave and get a full refund with a 10% interest. People, free yourself from mental slavery. I rest my case. I can show something, but I get the gist of his point. There's a lot of culture and tradition that's...
I think your previous comment, archaic. That's what he's saying. What it feels too similar to slavery. And then I get the but anyway, let's hear what you've got to say, Mr. Chief. I'm interested to see
Okay, so Mr. Fangs, now 100%, I don't think the Bukhari should be returned, right? Like it's just been said. First of all, it's a token of appreciation. So you can't demand a gift back just because you are sad, because now it doesn't take away that you had appreciated that person at a point in time. So the appreciation is still there, or you can't now decide to take a gift back. But more importantly, Bukhari, it's going to be difficult to calculate. Kira hela just on a surface level. Kana most times hasema ID hela, right? Hongeki baki from dala somewhere, di kaukunya, things like that. But that's just surface level stuff that you're going to have a difficult time trying to calculate it. Don't even bother, right? But the most interesting thing about Bukhari, and here's where my principle is that there's a difference between the union of the two of you, husband and wife, and the union of your families, which essentially is what Bukhari is. Because it's two families coming together and one showing gratitude to the other. Again, essentially that's what it is, right? To give you a great example why the couple is not involved, even in the negotiations, right? No, the bride doesn't set her price. Even the groom is not present. You send representatives of your family, your uncles, these kind of people. So just because your union with your wife, it doesn't mean that the two family unions are lost. And which is where the culture and tradition of Bukhari came from, to unite families and have society functioning and moving forward in that aspect. So we can't take away that. Another dangerous thing that you're treading on, right? And maybe this is a sign of the times, is that we're commodifying marriage now, thanks. Because now essentially you're equating the time you shared with someone to a monetary value, and you can't put a value on time or love. Ghana, just because you were married 4 years, it will also be things. Now when you're like, okay, do you want just enough to last you for that 4 years? You get what I mean? So essentially you're saying that the time you spent with that person can be summed up into a single figure of money. And that's just, it's disrespectful to the union of you and your wife. Generally when you were disingenuous, you were going into this thing as some sort of a deal, but it wasn't out of love, and essentially that's what love is, right? But the last issue, just before I wrap up, it's gonna discourage marriages, because now, like I said, Gala, you have to remember where this comes from, the tradition. It's about uniting cultures, it's about uniting families, it's about getting people to appreciate the greater significance of the social structure, right? So now, all of a sudden, the family refund. And now, it's just going to create this animosity around people getting unions, Maybe, the discussion should be around how do we adapt the times to this. But once you start to want to put money involved and demand that you are owed this, really it means that you were never really about this wedding. You are just more concerned about how much you've lost in this,
Okay, so now Mr. Chief, you're really concerned they lose their value, their meaning, and that's a fair point, I suppose. And I think I see why rather, because on my end, I'm not sure how much we should be encouraging marriages right now, particularly with the rate of divorce. So that's the first point. My argument with is the idea, like you're saying, it'll discourage marriage. Perhaps it would. But then all it means is people put more thought into that union before they actually make it, right? Which I think is always a positive thing. If more marriages are ending in divorce than lasting nowadays, then we seriously need to reevaluate the way we're approaching it. But secondly, families stay united, regardless of the divorce. I'm not so sure about that, right? I think the families still know each other, and there'll be, depending on, things like then there'll be some level of connection. But essentially, there's the families, which is why you can go and remarry and form that same union, a new one, with a whole new family. So let's symbolize it, because the khomonele, a symbol of the marriage, of the union. The union is now over, so let's return that symbol, because it's also a symbol of the union ending. Let's look at it that way. And we are commodifying marriage. I think already it's a commodity. It's a price. Because I don't have a choice whether or not I can give it. A gift is given of my own free will. I have to find somewhere where I can get enough cattle to be able to marry. Because otherwise, that lady's family will not recognize our union. So there's no way we can call it a gift. What it is, it's a price for recognition of our union. It's for, and that's where my problem comes. Because at the start here, the male child pays that for that symbol of that union. It's not the female child's parents or family that pays. It's the male child's family that pays, right, for the symbol of that union. And then when it ends, the female child doesn't pay anything. So there's no point at which the female child or their family or their representatives have to pay anything for that same symbol, right? So what that does, I think it's really problematic. Because what it does is it essentially says that the way that we view the male child is that's their job, that's their role in society. Within the union, they must pay. And that's why they must demonstrate their ability to pay. Right? And then the female child, their job is to receive. Right? That's their role. They are not expected to contribute economically. They're expected to contribute in other ways because they're a commodity. And that leads to dangerous ways of viewing women and their role within the family, within society. Right? And, it's no wonder that we have the second highest rape rate in the world in this country, right? Because of things like this. I actually even looked this up. We haven't even criminalized marital rape in this country, which is really shocking. You know what I mean? And it's remnants of this sort of thing, that we look at women as a commodity that must be paid for, right? So what we must show is that no. Yes, fine. Maybe the male child must, at some point, the male child must pay the male child must pay Bogadi, fine. But when the marriage ends, then let's show what the female child has the capacity to also pay. No, they have the capacity to do this as well. To look after a family and so on. So I think that's very important on a symbolic level. In fact, I think I really let to hold Mr. Chief. The comments they got it and I didn't
yeah, make a whole of things. We're essentially we're now worried the females must pay because the males pay to get into the union, so the females must pay to get out of the union. That's essentially what you are saying, when things.
Or everyone must pay at some point. Okay. That's what I like to look at it.
Well, the only question that I want to ask, before we get to the comments, is why do you feel there needs to be a symbol for the union ending? Because it's not necessarily an event you want to symbolize. You celebrate weddings. You don't celebrate divorces.
I mean, look, I think it's important because it does mean something, right? Divorce isn't nothing. It is a very real thing. It means a lot. It means there's a huge change in people's lives, in the way that we relate together, in the way that our families relate together. So it's important for us to have a symbol. The same way that we say that it's important to have a symbol to unify this marriage, it's important to have a symbol that says, okay, rekhaogane amicably. Yes.
I hear you. Okay, let's get to the comments. We've got some comments streaming in. We also ran a poll on Twitter, and we'll be releasing the results of that poll just after this. So, here's a comment first that I'm going to engage with, thanks.
Yeah.
And this is from one of our viewers in South Africa, because we have some viewers in the region. Big up to yourself, Mr. Sikuku M. Sikuku, right? He says, Bukhari is meant to kopanya badimu, nga. Ukipi malobolobo o hlanyisa amhlozi. Okay, so but essentially this guy's talking about there's a higher significance to Bukhari. It's not just about the people. There's gods involved and like a spiritual aspect, and we can't take away from that, thanks.
Yes,
it's the cultural thing. Maybe read Unkutlule's comment there, because I think it echoes some of what you were talking about there.
Unkutlule are. Actually, no. Are ga go nyalelwe mosadi go tlhokomela mosadi. O nyalelwa gore a ye go aga lelapa mmogo. Re tshole bana re le mmogo, re ba godise mmogo. We take care of each other. Ha re lwala ke a mo tlhokomela. Ha lwala ke a mo tlhokomela. Ha ke lwala wa ntlhokomela. Ke apa wa cleaner, ke a cleaner wa apa. It shows for the people don't take lenyalo ka ha le tshwanetseng ka teng. Lona ga le batla a companion, ba le batla batlhokomedi and baby making machines. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
That's interesting. But my thing, kore na ki libilana, ke gore if indeed it's all about these other things that aren't monetary, that aren't financial, then why is it important gore budwelwe in the first place? Or the guy got a kayak, everybody, it's interesting how the conversation at the beginning of the marriage is no, we're all talking about money. And then everybody's talking about no, it's about the symbol, it's about love, there's something very pernicious about that shifting the goalpost, right? And that's why because we are not honest about what Bukhari actually means.
That's an interesting one. What does it actually mean to the woman? But Omwekio Nkari Ike Capeston are gone are those times I think gone are those times Linnabusa peach, most we both enjoy eggplant, peach in a marriage. I boy, I understand what she's talking about. That we both get the fruits of the union.
That's the idea.
So why should there be one party that demands? And that's what she's saying, fact. And can I go on a point there, if we're both in this together, and now at the end of the union, one party says they want something out of it, what does it say about the time we both enjoyed together? Because we were both eating in that time.
You know what? This is the comment below, Yahankari, actually. Brokenness is the root of all evils. That's why we fornicate, buy prostitutes, play hit and run, broke boys, play girls, like toys, more than the richest. It started off with money being a part of it. So if you want to ask, what does me asking for my money back mean at the end of the relationship? What did it mean for you asking for money in order for us to start the relationship?
You know what I mean? You said it yourself. It shows that you are man enough. Like that you have the ability.
Because the man must have money. He must always have money. He must pay.
Okay, my question to you is now, once your union is over, right?
Yeah.
What do you feel that money is going to do for you? Like, is it going to bring your union back?
Like I said, it's a symbol, right? It's a symbol to say that, you know what, our union is over. and rakhaokane amicably. Your family recognizes that this union no longer stands. So that symbol that was there, that represented that union, it's taken back. Do
we have the results of the Twitter poll? Yeah.
Let's see. Not yet. I think they're coming through. But I mean, you know what? I want to just look at this thing. Or maybe can chief. This is more like Bukhari in the first place. You know, maybe and we should be discussing whether or not Bukhari should be paid.
Hey, I mean, essentially, you know, we are living in capitalist times. So Munga on the comment actually was talking about how BMC yo geditse price ya dikgomo. So
it's more expensive to get married.
It's actually more expensive to get married.
You see now.
So we are living in these times where everything has a monetary value. So that is a good question to ask, Jorge. Should we still be paying?
Yeah.
You know, in other countries, have flat screen, a nice kitchen unit. You know?
Oh, right. Okay, so we put up a poll a couple of hours ago asking should
on Twitter
at
voice BW.
That's right, and we tweeted that should Bukhari payment be refunded upon dissolution of marriage. And it was very, very tight, this one, Chief.
Oh, really?
But 49% say yes, 43% say no, and 7% are not sure. Well, we're not about to buy more than but
still, look, it's close. It's close. It's a close one.
It is definitely a close one.
Yeah.
It is a close one, and it is an interesting one because it raises a lot of interesting issues about how we view society. But
on to our issues, you know, we're always open to receiving issue suggestions. You know, there was someone in the comments. There's always people in the comments giving us suggestions of what we should talk about next. So we appreciate your input, and we would like to hear more issues. Also, if you'd like to, you know, be a part of the show in some way, just get in contact with us, and we will see what we can do for you.
That's right. Would you like to take it on and give your final thoughts for the show today, Chief?
Yeah, the final thought, don't refund Bukhari. I still view it as a token of appreciation. There is something that the modern times has distorted about the traditional meaning of it, because we've brought money into this thing. And when you bring money into anything, people get emotional. So maybe we must just take money out of it. Let's just focus. Let's go back to giving people other things, you know?
Okay, fair enough. I think my thoughts is obviously like right? But and this is why. Here's what I think. I think that we should make the payment of Bukhari, the financial aspect of marriage, we should put it to the front. Right? We shouldn't try and act as if marriage is not a financial arrangement, because in large part it really is, you know, and a lot of marriages end up dissolving, and a lot of the time you find out they dissolve because of financial reasons. People will be taking loans in order to pay Bukhari, to pay for weddings, and then afterwards they're stuck in debt. That creates tension in the marriage ends up breaking up down the line. So maybe if we start making it clear to everybody that's involved in this process that this is a financial arrangement here, right? And there's no running away from it. Then maybe everyone will start thinking twice about how they get into marriage and when they get into marriage. Hey, thank you very much for tuning in to The Voice of the People with Chief and Fangs. We love having you guys as a part of the show. Join us next week. Goodbye.
We know what you're looking for.
Your specially grilled newspaper, spiced with lifestyle, sport, entertainment, politics, business, and international news. The Voice is available every Friday. Subscribe now. The Voice.